Once we get parts so they're in there, then you can listen 40% to your part and 60 to the other part. So you can begin
He says to listen 40% to your part and 60% to everyone else's part. It's called vitamin H for vitamin harmony. This is elder wisdom here, back in a time before we sadly stopped cherishing our elder wisdom. And here's Laurence Cole.
An article, and a woman named Marilyn Robinson, who is, among other things, spent a lot of time researching and writing about the Puritan movement. The Puritan movement. And it got an embarrassingly bad rap with witch burnings and whatnot. But there was a revolution in England, and they took down the monarchy. These were the Puritans. And they said, enough of this big, stratified, wealthy and everything. Let's have a commonwealth. That's where the word came from. And they took down the king, they took down the House of Lords and all that. It was all for a while. Ultimately, the monarchy came roaring back. But I think for something like, I can't remember how long, but several decades, if not a few more. And then they were thrown out and went all over the place, ended up in America. And some of that ethic was still there. But anyway, I just thought, she said, these people were, they represent a third of our time on this continent. And nobody talks about them, thinks about them, gives them a single word of thank you for some of the qualities that you brought here and the original inspiration that you tried to live by, which is more or less when one has, everyone has. And one of their early pastors, she quoted him saying in one of his sermons, something like, "This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others." It's our, it's the same thing. We're all original medicine, and everyone comes in as a gift, and your sense of presence and belonging is when you're actually on purpose with your gift, giving your gift and taking pleasure in the fact that it does expand the well-being of your people. Or anybody notice that? So, it's just this ethic that, this culture of make-believe that we live in, that we don't need each other, and it's all about competition and acquisition. And so, but as I always say, you can't fill the longing to belong with belonging. And the ways that we gain our sense of being a people is when we come from this other place of making sure everyone has what they need. It's like what happened after the hurricane in Asheville. I went to visit. I'd been there just a few days before it actually hit, and then went home. I went back a year later, and I talked to my friends, and they said, yeah, when the hurricane finally ended, up until that point, we lived in a neighborhood. And then half an hour, 2 hours, right after the rain stopped and the wind stopped and everything, I realized we live in a village. Where everybody was out on the street checking to see, do you need water? Do you need stay together as people, we have to practice technologies of belonging. And it helps us recognize the importance of these things.
Can you say that phrase one more time that you always say about belonging?
Oh, I say, you can't fill the longing to belong with belonging.
Where do you fill it with?
You fill it with belonging.
With belongings.
Huh?
Belonging.
Belonging.
With belongings.
You get lots of belongings, but they don't really ultimately. When you're experiencing being a people, it's a very different thing. When you do that, there's 4 healing staffs. My teacher Angela Sarian says the healing staffs are singing, dancing, storytelling, and silence. And they all, when they're done with others, create a sense of greater belonging and connection. And when you're telling your deep stories and so on, which we do in grief ritual, and when you get up and sing, and you feel that you weave them together, and the dancing that happens, and then the silence that you hold and feel the substance of the people being together because they're staying the course with each other, largely through using these salves together. And so it makes it very sensible why most indigenous people were very ritual oriented. They did it on a really regular basis because it helps reweave the bonds of connection and belonging. And the primal wound is the break in belonging that happens in a culture that doesn't have this capacity to live together in clusters. And the Bonku Some would say, if we don't say it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to keep the parents sane.
Amen.
We need to pass the child along. The child needs to be passed along.
Kevin, I think you'll last out. Give fruit to everyone as one of the salves.
Right here.
Must be one of the
Absolutely.
This little being is
Yeah, she has.
letting us all
Everyone
have
else.
one. One has.
Okay, I'm going to teach you the next part of the song. I'm not sure if my voice is more strained by talking or singing, but we'll see what happens. Okay, the next part goes, and it's a 2-part, and maybe only 2 people would need to do it. Maybe you know the next part.
I might. I just need to hear it.
For this is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others. This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others. And there's the harmony. This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others. Sorry about that.
His voice is a little scratchy today.
To take pleasure in the well-being of others. Can you do the bottom one? This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others.
This is how we're made,
To take pleasure
in the well-being of others.
Okay, let's sing it out this time. This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others. This is how we're made, to take pleasure in the well-being of others.
When one has everything one has, when one has, when one has, when one has, everyone has. When one has, when one has, when one has, everyone has. Before he was talking about how in a community, how it used to be, if a person went out and killed an animal and brought it back to the village, they'd give the people most in need the part, whatever they needed first. Like some people might need the liver for some nutrients or medicine, or one person needs the hide to, let me turn this around. Someone needs like the hide for warmth, or to make moccasins for shoes. So it's like you give to the person who needs the most, and then everyone else gets the rest. It's like everyone gets what they need in a community. And yeah, I don't know, that message is basically exactly how I feel all the time, which is we need community, and we've lost these really potent rituals that kept us together and kept us strong and kept us connected and kept us with a sense of belonging. And it's sad. It's really, really, really sad that's those medicines, that art has been lost and is regrowing, and those people who miss it deeply. I think we all miss it in our hearts in some way, and we're all seeking it. And for me, I feel like community is the missing piece. So that's what we're doing here in this experimental, beautiful community called Singing Alive, where, yeah, it's been going on for almost 20 years now. We come together and we sing. And we tend children. And we take care of each other. And yeah, we have a lot of tea and support each other and love each other. So very blessed.